Faultline by Mia Michele. "No," he said, biting the inside of his cheek before he answered further. "I don't kill cops. It's not their faults they chose a side that puts them in opposition to me. They believe they are fighting for a common good, for law and order. They simply don't have the power they need." She was both stilled and angered. "They don't have the power because men like you take it away from them." "Men like me?" Giovanni stood taller. "Tell me, Alessandra, about these men like me." When she didn't reply, he filled the silence. "Men like me rose up from the people when foreigners came in and decimated those they considered weaker and less than. Men like me protected the villagers from the thugs in power who raped, stole, and beat them into submission." "I don't need a fucking history lesson." Lexi crossed her arms. "What happened to the people of Sicily was awful." "Men like me," he continued, "traveled to New York to find that the American dream only applied to people who had a little less brown in their skin and an accent that made English far more accessible. Men like me created safety and order for immigrants who just wanted a better life and a future for their families." "Stop acting like you're Robin Hood," Lexi exclaimed. "You're the outlaw, Giovanni, not the fucking hero robbing from the rich to give to the poor." "The outlaw," he said, nodding his head with annoyance. "The outlaw according to whom? To the same people who did nothing but force those with hope and goals into tiny compartments of life where they could barely breathe? Men like me took the wealth they had brought with them and offered loans to the people who looked up to them as their protectors. Men like me helped them start the stores and the businesses that under the ruling Americans they would have been left to sweep the floors of." "Loans? Do you understand what the term loan shark means? They weren't offering them help. They were putting them into a debt they could never get out of." "Don't put the men who decided to play American and use everyone they came into contact with to build their power in the same category with the men like me who actually gave a damn about their people and wanted to see them successful." Giovanni was watching her with a look that said he believed himself analogous to the feudal lords who didn't just rule over people, but made sure they were legitimately cared for. He scoffed. "Men like me. You have no fucking idea who men like me are, or what we do. You hear a last name and think we are all the same. How does that make you any different from those who founded your country and stole it from the people who, to their dismay, already lived there?" Lexi felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. "Are you trying to call me out on American history?" She took a step closer to him. "You stand here and give me this speech about helping the poor and oppressed, and you want to look at me as some sort of oppressor? I'm a fucking woman, Giovanni. I didn't even get the right to vote until 100 years ago, and I still don't have equal protection under the law. Fuck you if you think different." "And," she said, pointing her finger angrily, "I don't hear a last name and think you are all the same. I could care less where your people came from, or what color they were, or anything else. I care about right and wrong. I care about the things that you do and try to convince yourself are worth it. You are who you are. Let me tell you who you've shown me you are. You build empires by destroying the people beneath you, and you don't care who you step on, as long as you never touch the ground. That's who you are. And your last name probably wouldn't change that by much if it was fucking Smith." Lexi wasn't sure what he was thinking as he watched her from across the room with eyes that never failed to get under her skin. He slowly walked over to her and stopped to kiss the top of her head before whispering, "I've crawled on the ground." There wasn't anger in his declaration, rather the suggestion that she understood him as he understood her. "Beneath the whip of your tongue, I feel I crawl even more in the dirt at times." Giovanni stepped away from her, and Lexi turned around when he lifted the cig from the table. He checked the safety before returning it to the holster as she asked, "Did you really tell me the truth?" You can read a full excerpt of Chapter 1 at www.miamichele.com. You can also pick up your copy of Faultline for 40% off through release weekend.